Welcome to introduction of HTML for beginners. In this tutorial, I'm going to help you understand what HTML is. I'm also going to help you set up your development environment. Then I'm going to teach you what HTML structure is and help you understand what the HTML structure is. Then we are going to cover the headings and paragraphs. We're also going to cover the text formatting. We are going to do the lists. We're also going to cover the links, images, tables, forms, semantic HTML, and then we're also going to cover HTML5 new elements. Then we are going to build a simple website. So before we look at what HTML is, we are going to set up our environment so that we are able to test out different aspects of HTML. I'll start by setting up a text editor, which is going to help us edit our files and also render our simple web pages or elements in the browser. So I'll just bring in my browser. I'm using Google Chrome, and the text editor that we are going to use for this project is known as Visual Studio Code Editor. So if you search for Visual Studio Code Editor or download, you'll be directed to such a web page. So we are going to click on the first link, which is going to present you with the different versions of VS or Visual Studio Code Editor for different operating systems. We have the Windows, we have Linux, then we have Mac. So for my case, I'm using Windows. So if I want to download this, it's automatically going to detect my environment or my operating system. So if I click on this, it's going to start downloading. So that is what you're supposed to do. You just click on this button here and Visual Studio will start downloading. But for my case, I have it installed in my system already. So once you've downloaded the Visual Studio Code Editor, you'll proceed and just search in your search bar. Just search for Visual Studio and you'll see this. Then you'll go ahead and open new window. So click on that. And that is going to open the Visual Studio Code Editor. So we are going to create a folder where we are going to store all the files and that are required for this particular project. So I'll just bring in my file explorer, and then I'm going to my desktop folder or sub section, then right click and create a new folder. Then I'll call it HTML. Let me just write in small letters or lowercase. So I'll call it html5-2025 in that. So to open this with the Visual Studio Code Editor, it's simple. In Windows, you can right click, then show more options, and you'll find that Visual Studio is here, so you can open it with the Visual Studio. The other simple method or way is you have your Visual Studio here open. So I'll just minimize it. So I'll left click on this folder, then drag it and drop it here. if you look at the right hand side of your Visual Studio Code editor, you can see that I have HTML file, and this represents the main folder inside my code editor. So I'm just going to close this tab, and you're ready to start creating files. So I'll show you how you can create files inside your folder, and if you want to create folders, the process is just the same. So you can create a folder within the folder inside your code editor. So coming back to the list of things that we're supposed to cover, let's start by defining HTML. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. What it means is that it defines the structure of the web page. So it tells the browser what to display or how to display your content. So your content can be an image, it can be a text, it can be an italic text, it can be a link, it can even be a video, like the way YouTube web pages work. So the language that's responsible for instructing the browser how to display the content in the web pages is known as HTML. So HTML is a markup language because there is no like logic that you're going to write. It's different from programming languages like JavaScript, which requires you to write logic. Now, we're going to move to the basic HTML structure. So this is the basic HTML structure, and I'm going to write this in the code editor in our file that we are going to create. So I'll just go to VS Code and click on our folder html5-2025, and there's this icon here. You can see when you hover over this icon. Let me just zoom. Okay, so when you click on this or hover on this icon, you can see new file. If you move to the next, it's saying new folder. So we can click on this and create a file. We call it basic. So to identify an HTML file, we need to put an extension, and the extension for HTML is just HTML, like that. So that identifies your HTML file. There are chances that your Visual Studio Code editor is not going to have this color that I have here, because I have added some extensions just to modify the appearance of my Visual Studio Code editor, but it's not going to affect the results that you're going to get, or the way the code is going to be rendered. So this is an example of an HTML file. It has a name, and the extension is .html. So going back to our description is that inside your HTML file, you're supposed to pass this doc type just to tell the browser that this is HTML5. Then the HTML structure has a parent element or a parent tag known as HTML. It must start with this HTML to show like this is the root. So the root tag or element is known as HTML. Then inside the HTML we have the head. So the head contains the meta information like the title of your page, the scripts. Then scripts, I'll come to this later because it's more complicated. I mean a bit, it's not complicated, but it's a bit complex for now because you haven't covered much about HTML. Then we have the body. This is the element or the tag that is going to display or contain what is going to be visible in your web page. We're going to explain all this. So I'm going to show you how to arrive to that. So the first thing we are supposed to do is create these tags. So I have just copied and pasted there. So I'm going to explain everything one by one. So let me just zoom my page so that it's more visible to you. So we have to declare that this is a HTML5 by passing this text or this tag. So it starts with less than, and then exclamation mark, capital doc type, then HTML. Then after that we declare the root tag. So HTML tags must have an opening and a closing tag. So the root has an opening tag which is HTML. Then the closing, this is how you close your tags. Then inside the root or the parent, we have two subsections. So we have the heading and we have the body. So inside the heading, this is where we shall have the title of your web page. And we have other meta descriptions which you don't need to know by now. You'll learn this much later. Now, how do we render our pages? Let's say this is a basic HTML page. It's known as basic HTML. How do we render this in our browser? So to render this, you'll just go to your file, to your folder which we created, which is HTML5. Then we open it. You'll find that we have basic.html that we have created from our editor. It's present there. So if you click on that and right click, you'll see that we have an option to open this with the browser. So I'll click here and it's going to open that in the browser. You can see that there's nothing being displayed here right now because we have nothing in the body. But you realize that in the browser tab there is this text known as document being displayed. So if I go back to the browser, you can see this document, so the title of your page. So I can edit that, call it basic HTML page, and save this. So to save, you'll just click Ctrl S, that is the shortcut. So Ctrl S saves the content. Then I'll go back to the browser and reload this page. You can see the title has changed to basic HTML page. So what if we want something in the page to be displayed now? We need real content. So you'll do that inside your body tag. So if I just write some gibberish here and Control save, that is Control S, this will be displayed in the browser. So I'll go back to the browser and refresh this, and you can see this being displayed here. But right now our text doesn't have any formatting, it doesn't have maybe edit text size, so we are going to cover that. So I'll just go back to the slides. Let me close this. Okay. So we have covered this. We move to the next section of our slide. Let's start by looking at the headings and the paragraphs. So this is basically text content within your web page. So we have 6 options of headings that we can have in our document. So we are able to render heading 1 to heading 6. So the hierarchy is that heading 1 is the highest, so is the largest in terms of font uh, weight, and also uh, maybe the text size. Yeah, in terms of text size. Then we have normal paragraphs. So let's start by looking at headings. So we start with heading 1. So to create an heading 1, you create your opening and closing tags, and this is how I'm going to do that. So this is supposed to be h1 to show that it's h1. Then we can pass some text here. Let's call it heading 1, like that. Then I save this. So if we go to the browser, we should be able to see this heading 1. So if I refresh, you can see this heading 1. It's very huge or large text. So I'm going to do heading 2 up to heading 6. So let's do that. So to make our coding faster, I'll just copy this and paste it 5 times. And then this should be heading 2. So we just call it heading 2, then heading 3, then heading 4, then 5, then 6. That. Then we need to tell our browser this text is supposed to be heading 2, so we just pass h2. So make sure you update the opening and the closing tags. Then h3, do the same to this, to h4, then h5, then h6, like that. Then I'll do Control S to save the changes that we have made to our file. Then go back to the browser and refresh our tab, and you can see how different these headings are. So we have the H1 or heading 1, which is very large. Then we have heading 2, heading 3, 4, 5, and 6. So heading 1 is meant to be at the top of your page, or 1 in your page, just to give you the highest rank of the text in your page. Like maybe if you have a blog, heading 1 can represent the blog title. Then this blog may have subsections, so a subtitle, and then the subtitle can also have a subsection. Now let's move to paragraphs. So a paragraph is just for displaying normal text, and the way you do that is simple. So you'll just click here and create the opening and closing tags for the paragraph. So I'll edit that to P, and it should be in small letters. So I'll call this paragraph, then save. So Control S to save. Then if I go back to the browser, refresh, you'll see this is how the paragraph looks like. Simple as that. Now in our slides we move to the next topic, which is text formatting. So text formatting is meant for special characters, like you want bold, or you want an italic text, you want to underline your text or strike through, or you want, yeah, let's deal with that. I'll just this is a typing error when I was creating my slides. So let's start with the bold, and I'm going to create a new file inside my folder. So I'm going to show you another method of creating a new file. So right click here, first open it so that it shows this drop down, then on the space, this space, right click and click on new file, and I'm going to call this formatting.html, like that. Then we are going to follow the same procedure here. First we need to declare that this is html5, so I'm going to copy that and paste here. So Control V to paste, then Control S to save. Then I'm going to create an HTML root element. So I'll just pass HTML here. Then inside HTML we have two subsections. We have the header or heading, and we have body. So if your text editor is not able to do this, make sure you type it manually so that you have this structure. So this is supposed to be heading, if I'm not wrong. Head, not heading. So this is the head section. Then inside the head section, I'm just going to pass these meta descriptions and the title. You don't need to worry about the meta descriptions for now because this is an introduction to HTML. So we are going to call our page. Let's give it a title. Let's call it formatting. Then save it. Then to open this from our browser, we go back to the folder. So it's this folder here. You can see a new file has been added. So right click on that file, then open with your available browser. So you can open with any browser that you have in your system. So I'm going to stick with Visual Studio. So I'll just close this other HTML or other page or web page, and I'm going to concentrate on this. So you can see we have formatting here, but we don't have anything in the body. So if I go to the body, you can see that we have nothing there. So we need to now start defining these special characters to be able to format our text. It can be heading or a paragraph. So I'm going to deal with the paragraph. So I'll just create a paragraph element here. Then let me just call it paragraph, the content of the text. Then go back and refresh. You can see we have a paragraph. So we are going to start now formatting our text so that we are able to understand what these formats are supposed to do to the web page. So I'll just clear this. So inside our paragraph, I want some bold text. So the element for bold text or a tag for bold text is B, like this. So closing and opening, I'll call this bold, like that. Then let's have some normal text here. Then Control save. If I go to the browser and refresh, you can see the bold, which is inside the bold tag, it's heavy, and this is light text, so normal text. Now let's look at a different type of formatting. Let's look at maybe italic. So to pass an italic text, you create such element within your paragraph. I'm just going to call it italic text. Then Control S to save. Then refresh my browser. and you can tell the difference that this is italic text, this is normal text, and this is bold text. So just to structure my content, I'll try to put everything in a different paragraph. So I'll just create a paragraph below this and pass my italic text. Control X to cut it. Then I'll create another paragraph for the bold. So I'll cut this, Control X, then paste it there. Then we have a normal text. So if you go back to the browser and refresh your page, you can tell the difference between these three types of formats of text, or three types of text we have here. Now there is another way you can do the bold. Instead of typing B as the name of your tag, you can also just type strong. So make sure you've closed it, and if you go to the browser and refresh, you can see it's also bold. We can even call it strong. Then refresh our browser in that. So you can see both these two type of texts are bold. Then for the italic, there is another element or a name you can pass in the tag to represent italic. So I'll copy this, then enter, paste there. You can also do the italic by passing the name EM in that, then save it and go back and refresh our page. You can see it's still italic. So we can do another format or another type of element known as a strike through. So if we want a line going through our text within the web page, we can use the strike through element. So I'm going to copy this and paste it here. Then to declare a strike through, you'll just pass S and Control S to save it. If I go back to the browser and refresh, you can see that line goes through our text like that. It's only saying italic because that is what we have here as our content. Then we can also do an underline. So if we want to underline our text, I will just pass the name of underline, which is U, and Control save. So if we go back to the browser and refresh, you can see my text is underlined. So these are the basic formatting you can do to your HTML content or the content of your page. So let's go back to the slides and look at our next slide, which is a list. So how do we declare a list in our page? So we can have a list declared in numbers or in dots. So there are two types of lists. We have an ordered list, then we have ordered list. So ordered list is supposed to be in like numbers, like number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. So it's supposed to be in order. Then unordered can be just in dots. So let's start with the ordered list. So I'll just go to my editor and quickly create a new file, call it lists, like that. Then .html. If I go to this space and just click here, a new file is created. So because you already know how to create an HTML structure, you can do Shift exclamation mark or Shift 1 in your Windows machine, and it's going to give you this abbreviation. Just click enter and it will quickly create an HTML structure for you. So we are going to name our title as lists, then control save that, and we start with the ordered list. So to do the ordered list, you'll just pass the name OL to represent ordered list inside your tag. And then there is another element you need to pass inside your OL to represent now the list item. So we need a list item. So to declare a list item, we just pass an element with the name li to represent list item. So if we close this, we can call this list item 1 like that, then control S to save it. Then I'll go back to my file explorer and get my list.html, right click, then open more options. No, just click on it, right click, then open with the Chrome like that. So you can see we have our list here. So list item 1, and you can see the position is 1. So let me just close this other file. So if you continue adding more list items, let me just copy this and paste it there again, paste it there, and paste it there. Control S to save. We have now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items. So if I go to the browser and refresh this, you can see that we have a list of 5 items and they are ordered like 1, 2, 3 like that. So we can even go ahead and give it a name of item 2, list item 2 like that. This one is supposed to be list item 5, so we call it 5. Then control S to save, then go back to the browser and refresh, and you can see that it's well displayed. So we move to the next type of list, which is known as unordered. So they're not in any order. So to represent this, we use the dots, and the name for that is UL, which stands for unordered list. Then if we close this, make sure you close it. You can just copy this. So to name your list items is the same way you've named the list items within the ordered list. So if I control save that, so control S and go back to the browser, refresh, and you can see that we have now an ordered list in this format. So that is how you can do the lists within your web page. Don't worry about the ugly display of contents here. Once you're familiar with HTML, you'll learn another markup language known as CSS, or cascading style sheets, which is now going to help you style your elements or style the sections of your web page. Right now I want us to look at links. How do we link our web pages? You've seen in a website, when you click on a specific button or a section of the page, it takes you to a different page, or even takes you outside the website. And that is what we are going to look at. So I'll just come to my folder and create another file, call it links.html. HTML like that. Then I'll click Shift I or Shift 1 to get exclamation mark, then enter to quickly generate an HTML structure. The title, I'm going to call it links. Then I just go back to the slides and look at links. So we want to see how we can link to other pages or websites, and how we can link to sections of the same page. Like we are on this page, if we are maybe at the top most section, we want to scroll to the bottom section of the page by clicking on a link. It's very much possible. So let's start by linking to other websites. So you'll create your element and you'll pass letter A inside the name or the content of your tag to represent a link. So links have several sections. There is a section to declare the name of your link, and there is a section to declare an attribute. So these attributes are supposed to give the link more information, like where to link your click to, or link your content to. So to do that, we pass an attribute known as href, and inside this href is where we are going to put the link of the new page, like that. Then we can maybe call here visit Google. So this is known as a URL. You're familiar with this. So if you want to visit this Google inside your browser, let me just copy this URL, go to the browser, then try to access that URL, like that. So if I type this, you can see I'm on Google now. So I'll just close it, that, and also close this. Then I will open my web page by going back to my folder that is containing my project. Then look for links. So links is here. Right click and open with the Chrome, and you can see this is a link. If you look at Visual Studio, visit Google. So by default, the browser will give it an underline and a color of blue to show that it's a link, but you can override it in future. Once you learn HTML, give it a color that you want, or even remove the underlining. So if I click on this, look at my cursor. Before I even click on the content, right now it's pointer, like it's an arrow. If I hover over this, it's an hand, so it means that it's clickable. So if I click on it, you can see it opens this Google, so it's linking to Google. So I can come back by using the browser arrows, as simple as that. Then we can also link this to a section of our page. Let's say we have paragraphs. We have paragraph 1, and I'm going to pass some dummy data here from Lorem Ipsum. So Lorem, you just type LORM like that, then the number of characters that you want. Let me say like I need maybe 100 characters. So Lorem 100, if I press enter, it's going to generate this dummy text for me. And if I go back to the browser and refresh this, you can see we have all this text. I can even make it maybe 200. So I'll enter, then type Lorem, another 100, then enter. It's going to generate more text for me. Then if I refresh in the browser, you can see it's way beyond the height of the page, and to be able to read all, I need to scroll. Now I'm going to create another paragraph which is exactly the same as this one. So I'll highlight and copy this, then come here, Control V, so that I have two paragraphs. Paragraph 1. Then I'm going to create two links at the top of my paragraphs. I'll call this paragraph 1. Paragraph 1 like that. And I'll call this paragraph 2 like that. So I'm going to use these links to be able to quickly scroll to different sections of my web page. I just want to make our content more readable. I'll introduce another element known as the break. So the break is supposed to break your content into different paragraphs, and this type of element is doesn't have a closing tag, so you'll just do it like that, and it's going to break your content into two paragraphs. So if I go to the browser and refresh, you can see now that I have two paragraphs. So we have paragraph 1, paragraph 2, and visit Google. We are also going to break this by just passing this BR element in between. So Control V to paste it there, then save. We're also going to break it there to save. Then if I go back to my browser and refresh, you can see that each now is on a different line. So to be able to link to different paragraphs, you need to pass an attribute within your paragraph known as an ID, and this is how you do it. Call this PR1, any name just to represent paragraph 1. Then I'll this is not like constant. You can give it any name that you want. So I'll come to this section and put PR2 like that to represent my paragraph 2. Or I can even call it paragraph 2 just to show you that you don't have to use PAR. So paragraph 2 like that. So that is how you pass the ID attribute. So it uniquely identifies this paragraph. So this is unique to this one, and this is unique to paragraph 2. Then to be able to link from this paragraph 1 section, we pass an hashtag. Hashtag is Shift 3 on Windows. Then we pass the name of the paragraph we want to link it to. So we'll copy PR1, paste it there. And then for paragraph 2, you also pass a hash or a hashtag. Then copy this paragraph 2 and paste it there. Then Control S to save. I'll go to my browser and refresh. So watch what happens when I click on paragraph 2. You'll see my page quickly scrolls to the bottom where paragraph 2 is. See that? So it is quickly linking us to a section of the page that this content is found. So you can even come down here. Let's say this is a table of contents. Let's say this is table of contents like paragraph 1. This is a table of contents representing the content that you have in your web page. So we can have a heading known as paragraph 2 and a heading known as paragraph 1. So let's do that. We can pass another BR to have 2 line breaks. Then we pass an h1 tag and call it paragraph 1. Then instead of passing this attribute here, we just pass it on the heading, like that. Let's use h2. Then we copy this h2, take it down here, and call this paragraph 2, like that. But for the ID, we pass this. So copy this attribute and paste it here to replace what we had for paragraph 1. Then if you go back to the browser and refresh your web page, you can see that your web page is well structured. So if you quickly want to access paragraph 2 from your table of contents, you click on that and it quickly scrolls to that section of your page. So that is how linking works. So we move to the next part of our tutorial, which is images. So of course you've seen web pages having images, and how do you display an image within your web page. To do that, I'm just going to get an image I have downloaded. So I'll go to my downloads folder and get an mp3 file. I'll drag this file to VS Code like that and release it there, and that is going to add my file there. So you can see it's producing a sound. Then I'm also going to do it for the video. I think I have a video here. Let me check if I have. Yeah, I have an mp4 file. So long press, so drag it and release it on the same directory as your other HTML files. I'll just close it and close this. So this is how you close the files that are open. I'll also look for an image because that is what we are going to look at right now. So I'll go to Unsplash. There is a website known as Unsplash, so I'll search for that, and that is going to allow us to use images for free. So I'll click on this one, then click on download for free. So it's downloading. It's complete. So I'll just go to my downloads folder, and this image is here. So I'll drag this image and drop it here where my other files are, and VS Code is able, even to Studio Code is able to display it for us. So I'll just close this and do the images now. So to render an image inside your web page, it's very simple. I'll click on this to add a new folder, or right click there, not folder but file, and call this images. It's wrong spelling. .html and that. So I'll quickly create an HTML structure. You already know how to do that. Control S to save. The title, I'll give it a title of images. Then inside my body, I'll pass an image tag. So an image tag is a self-closing tag. It means that you don't have to do it like this. You don't have to do it like this, no. You just pass img to stand for an image, then you self-close it like that. So you need to pass an attribute that is going to give the direction or the link of the image and or the source. The attribute is known as src, which stands for source, like that. Then inside here you'll pass the name of your image and also the direction of the image. So right now it is in the same direction as our folder, I mean our images HTML. So this is the image, even the icon is showing that. I can right click on that image and rename it, call it image1, then click on this space and it will be renamed. So I've just called it an image, so I'll type here image, make sure to put the extension JPG as it's indicated, and Control S. If I go back to the browser, I just need to visit now the image is HTML, which is this one. So right click, then open with the Chrome. You can see the image is displayed there. Not style, it's not formatted. We shall cover the styling once we do the style sheet tutorial. So that is how you display an image within your web page using HTML. We just moved to the next item, which is tables. So you may want to display rows and columns within your HTML or within your web page, and to do that you'll use a table element. So I'll go back to my editor and create a file known as a table.html, like that. I'll quickly create an HTML structure here and call it table. So to be able to display a table element, first you need to declare that this element is a table. So you create the opening tag of a table like that, then you also create the closing tag. Then inside this table you have to declare the title, I mean the header section of your table. So to declare the header section of the table, you'll use the tr. That tr represents a row which is going to contain our header. We can have another row for our body section of the table, like that. Then inside this header we pass the content, like the table heading. So we need to pass table heading, and to declare table heading you use th. You have to close it like that. Then you can name an element. So if I save that, go back to the file manager, look for the table.html, it's here. Then I open it with Chrome. So right now this is what I have. You can see it's only a single element, but we need to come up with the rows and columns. So we can have another item to represent maybe the age of a person. Call it age, like that. Then go and refresh this. See, we have two sections in the table header. So let's have now the elements now in the table body. So inside the table body we can have the table data now. We have the header and the data. So table data is just TD. That's how you do it. Make sure it's closing. And then we can have a person named known as John, and we can have his age. So the age of John is maybe 30 years, like that. Then save it. So if I go back to the browser and refresh this, you can see we have columns. We have name and we have age. So you can add another person here. So we need to pass another row, and call this maybe David, and this David has 20 years. So Control S to save, then go back to the browser, refresh, and you can see we have these columns. You realize that the table header is bold, just to show you that that is the header. So as simple as that. So let's look at forms. So form is an element that is used to collect data. You've seen in web pages where you're required to enter your email, your name, your address, then you do the registration. Or you have a web page where you're supposed to log in or to sign up. You'll find that there's sections, some inputs there. You put the text, and when you submit, that text goes to the server or goes to some table in a database. So an HTML form is used to collect user input, and as I've explained, that this input is mostly used to send this information to the server for processing, either to save it as a user, then later that user information can be retrieved for a specific purpose. So I'll create a file, call it form .html as usual. Then I'll quickly create a structure here for the forms. So I'll call this forms. So to create a form element, it's simple. Just do as the other elements, call it form, then close it. Like that. This form has several attributes. One is the action of the form. A page that is going to handle this mostly can be done by JavaScript or the programming language that you've embedded your HTML into. Then forms have methods, so you don't need to understand this by now. We have several methods. We have post, we have get, and all that. Then these forms have the inputs. So to pass an input is a self-closing tag. You just call it input, then you close it like that. Then it can also have a button. So these inputs have several types of data they can collect. So we have a text type of data. We can even collect an image. So we need to declare the type of input. So let's call this text, like that. Let's have another input for image. So the type for image is known as file, or for collecting a file, it doesn't have to be an image. It can be an image, it can be an audio. So it's basically for media. Then we have another input which is supposed for declaring the action to the form or giving instructions to the form to get submitted. It's known as submit, so I'll just paste it there and name it as submit, like that, then save. Then I'll go to my file and look for form, right click and open with Google. And you can see we have a form. Right now it doesn't look good because everything is in a straight line. I'll just pass the line break element that I had introduced to you, BR element, in between the inputs so that they're able to break into different lines, like that. Then go back to the browser and refresh this, and you can see we now have our inputs in different lines. So let's create more spaces by having several breaks. So 2 there and 2 at the top. If I go back to the browser and refresh, you can see now we have spaces. So our first input is text. So here we can write text. See that? Then the other one is for uploading files. So we can choose a file. So if you click on that, it's going to ask me for a file. Then if I click open, you can see that file is embedded there. Then the submit is now supposed to take our form to a web page that, to an action that is going to send the information to necessary place. So for now, you don't need to understand that. Now, we need to move to the next section now. We have semantic HTML. And this semantic HTML is an element that clearly describes its meaning. So it helps the developer to structure the content of the page. So the developer can decide that this section of the page is going to be the header or the heading of my content. Then this section is going to be my body, the body of my content, or it's going to be a sidebar, or it's going to be the navigation bar. So it can be the top navigation, the bottom navigation, or the lower navigation. So I'll just create a file and show you how this works. I'll call this semantic h.html. Like that. Then I'll quickly create an HTML structure. Then I'll copy some content and put it here. So these are different types of semantic HTML elements. We have a header section. So this is a section you want to be at the topmost section of your page. Let's say this section of your page, topmost, we call it the heading section of your web page. Then we can also have the navigation section of your page, where you have your links that are linking to different sections of the page or linking to other pages. Then we have the main section that now contains your paragraphs and your images. Then we have the footer that may contain maybe the contacts and copyright, all that information. So I'll just go ahead and open this in your browser. In my browser, sorry. Semantic. Then I open with this. So you can see my structure is there. I have the top section of my web page. I have the navigation links. I can put my navigation links there. I can have main content, and I have the copyright. So if you're working as two different developers, the next developer is able to understand your code, that this section is supposed to be the header, this section is supposed to be the navigation links and all that. So let's create some navigation links here, or the link tags. So we can call this section 1, like that. Then I'll just create another link. So 2, 3 links. And I'll call this 2, section 2, like that. Then section 3. Then save this. So now if I come to my page and refresh, so this represents the navigation section of my page. Then I can have my main content inside this tag known as main. So here I can have a paragraph. First I'll have a heading 2 and call it section 1, that. Then under it I'll have a break. Then I'll have a paragraph to represent that section of the main content now. So I'll pass lorem 200. It's a lot of content for that section. So if I go to my web page and refresh, you can now see that I have my navigation and I have my main section of the page. So section 1. So inside this you can also have another section within the main content. So I'll pass an h2 and call section 2. Then put paragraph there. I'll pass lorem 200 again. Then Control S to save. And I have a lot of now content within my web page. So I have to refresh. So in the main area we have section 1 content and we have section 2 content. Now there is another semantic HTML known as a section. You can just pass it here. That is the spelling, then close it. Then instead of just leaving your content hanging, you can direct your fellow developer that this is a section within the main part of the page. Then you can also call this a section. So I'll copy this and close my section like that. So when the new developer comes in, or your fellow developer is working on your page, is able to know that, oh, this is a section of my page that is represented by this link, like that. So if I go to the browser and refresh this, you can see that there's no difference. So let's look at media, other type of media apart from the images. Let's look at how you can do audio and how you can do videos within your web page. It's very simple. I'll just create another file and call it media.tsx, not tsx but html. Then I'll quickly create a file structure like that. Then I'll look at the audio. So let's start with the audio. So passing audio is very simple. We just use the audio element like that. it's a self-closing. Then here we need to declare the source. So we need to declare the source of our file just to tell your web page where to get the file from. So the attribute is known as source, which is src. Then if I drag this there, this is my mp3 file. So I'll just copy this, now rename it, or get this name exactly. So the best is to rename it to audio, like that. Then inside my web page, I'll refer to it as audio. So I'm referring to the name.mp3. So make sure you do it correctly like that. Then we need to pass the type here. So this is going to instruct your browser that this is an audio. And the type of this audio is an mp3, like that. So I'll go to my file explorer and look for audio, then open with the no, it's media, not audio. So the HTML file that is rendering that is this one. So we open with the Chrome. So this is supposed to play. Just need to make sure that this is done correctly. Now this audio element is actually supposed to have a closing tag, and the way you do it is you first close this, in that. Then inside this tag you pass a source, like that. Then inside the source is where now you're going to pass all the attributes. So you'll cut what you passed here and pass it within the source, like that. Now this is supposed to now work. You can also pass controls like you want the play, you want the pause. And then if I go back to my HTML and refresh, you can see that your audio is being displayed there. Because of the copyright, so the control is working. We have the speaker and we have the playback speed, everything declared there. So we can do the same for the video. So to do the video, I'll just come down here and just name it as video. So that is the name for the element. Then inside we pass the source of the file, and I have an mp4 that I dragged to my folder. I'll just rename it to video so that it's shorter and readable. Then here I'll say video. So make sure you have the correct name, this one. Then you tell your system that this is an mp4. Then Control S to save it. If I come back and refresh this, you can see my video is there. Let me just zoom back. We need to put a width, because if we don't declare the width, then the video is going to take the whole page. So there's another attribute you can pass here inside the video. So we need controls so that we are able to play. Then we need the minimum width or the max width it's going to take. So I'll just use 400 pixel. That is the dimensions that we use in measuring the pages. You will come to understand that in details once you start learning about CSS. So if I refresh this page, you can now see that my video is here next to my audio. So it has a play button and it has the volume. So if I click on that, you can see it's playing. It doesn't have a sound, so this video didn't have a sound. So that is how you can do the media within your HTML. And that marks the end of our tutorial. It has taken quite some time, but this is enough introduction for you to get started to learning HTML. So if you want to do a lot of practice, I recommend that you look at a website known as W3 Schools. So search for this website and you'll be able to learn HTML. So just click on tutorial and you can see a lot of aspects of HTML being covered in details. Always in programming, you cannot be taught everything by one person, so you have to do a lot of research, read about the documentation of various blogs or various websites, or even tutorials from different people. Then you'll be able to understand. But I'll advise you to not just watch tutorials, but doing everything practically, testing out by yourself and see how things happen. That is the only way you will be able to grasp the content and also the use of different tools by doing it yourself. Thank you for taking your time to watch this video. See you in the next tutorial.